Hello everyone. Let's jump straight into a question that decides whether a PMO becomes powerful or gets ignored. In professional terms, aligning a PMO with strategy means ensuring that the PMO's purpose, services, and decisions directly support the organization's strategic objectives. Now, let me say that in very simple English. Alignment means the PMO is helping the business go where it wants to go, not where the PMO thinks it should go, but where the organization has decided it wants to be. You've probably seen this at the office. Leadership announces a new strategy, but the PMO continues doing the same old reporting and reviews. That PMO slowly loses relevance because it's not moving with the business. So, the key takeaway here is this: if the PMO is not aligned with strategy, it will always feel like extra work. And once we understand that alignment starts with strategy itself, the next natural step is to clearly understand what strategy actually means in this context, which takes us into the next scene. Let's break that down together. From a professional perspective, organizational strategy defines long-term goals, priorities, and the direction the organization chooses to achieve competitive advantage and value. Stay with me here. In simple terms, strategy answers three big questions: where are we going? Why are we going there? And what matters most right now? You've probably seen strategy statements like growth, digital transformation, cost optimization, or customer experience. These are not slogans, they are signals telling the PMO where to focus. I once saw a PMO tracking project schedules perfectly while the organization was trying to reduce costs. The PMO wasn't wrong, but it wasn't aligned. Once they shifted focus to cost visibility and benefits, leadership engagement increased immediately. So now that we understand what strategy really is, the next question becomes: how does a PMO actually connect itself to that strategy? Now let's talk about that connection. Professionally, aligning the PMO with strategy means translating strategic objectives into PMO services, governance, and performance measures. Let me simplify that. The PMO should take strategy and turn it into daily behavior. You've probably seen PMOs offering many services without clear priorities. Alignment means choosing services that directly support what leadership cares about right now. For example, if the strategy is fast market entry, the PMO should reduce delays, simplify approvals, and support rapid planning. If the strategy is risk reduction, the PMO should strengthen governance and visibility. So now that we see how strategy turns into PMO action, the next step is understanding how project selection and prioritization play a role in alignment. And that takes us straight into the next scene. Let's look at decision making. In professional terms, a strategy aligned PMO supports project and initiative selection so that resources are invested in work that best supports strategic goals. In simple words, not all projects deserve equal attention. Alignment means helping the organization choose wisely. You've probably seen teams overloaded with too many projects. Everything feels important, so nothing gets done well. A PMO aligned with strategy helps leadership say yes, no, or not now. I once saw a PMO help leadership pause several low-impact projects so teams could focus on one strategic initiative. Morale improved and delivery speed increased. That's alignment in action. So now that we understand how alignment influences what work gets done, the next logical step is understanding how alignment must be communicated and reinforced across the organization. And that brings us into the next scene. Now let's talk about communication. Professionally, aligning a PMO with strategy requires clear communication so stakeholders understand how PMO activities support strategic objectives. Let's break this down together. Alignment is useless if no one can see it. You've probably seen PMOs doing good work, but stakeholders still ask, why are we doing this? That's a communication gap. A strong PMO constantly connects its actions back to strategy. It explains why reports exist, why standards matter, and how governance supports business goals. I once saw a PMO add one sentence to every report: this supports our strategy by. That small change completely shifted how leaders viewed the PMO. So now that we understand how communication reinforces alignment, the final step is seeing what happens when alignment is done well and sustained over time. And that brings us into our final scene. Let's bring everything together calmly and clearly. Aligning a PMO with strategy means ensuring the PMO's purpose, services, decisions, and communication all support where the organization wants to go. In simple words, a strategy aligned PMO stops being busy and starts being important. When alignment is strong, leaders trust the PMO, teams feel supported, and resources are used more wisely. The PMO becomes part of the strategy conversation, not just an execution function. So now that you've mastered how to align a PMO with organizational strategy, you're perfectly ready to move forward into measuring and demonstrating PMO value, which is exactly where this PMI PMOCP journey takes us next. We are going to discuss assessing organizational maturity in details in next chapter.